Well, hello everybody, I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets. We do it from a neoclassical perspective each time. We ask ourselves just one question: what happened today? What does it tell us about the coming ones? We do the show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. Broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel LA Little. Also do a Sunday night show. That show is a weekly view where we take and ask the question, what happened that week? And what does it tell us about the coming ones? You need to look on each time frame. We typically go out as much as the weeklies. We don't pay a lot of attention to the monthlies other than to notice where they are. You're really timing off your dailies and weeklies most of the time. As far as timing this market, it's all about buying it mostly, right? This market just continues to try and work higher. Looks like my friends have their quote wrong one more time here on the Russell, so that really was the Russell really wasn't up that much. It was flat as well. Pretty much flat, but slightly higher. We had gold down. We had the dollar skyrocketing today, a big bounce back up. Oil, the same thing. Bonds down one more time. So pretty mixed market in terms of what was happening. If we pop in, take a look at these indexes. Yesterday we were asking the question: is okay now that we've got the the sideways trend, or at least the break of this swing point low, that swing point low, we broke over it, right? Got over that high. And excuse me, let's pull that up just a little bit because the high was just a little bit higher here. It was actually about right there. Yeah, if I can get it right about in there. So that was the high. So yesterday we barely got over the high. And then today we actually extended a little bit more and stayed over it. So, when I get 2 days over the high, I'm pretty comfortable that this thing has gone sideways instead of a continuation right to the downside, which is what this thing was doing. So at this point, I think you can safely say, okay, S&Ps have gone sideways. As far as today, it was an inside bar. Doesn't really tell me much. The only thing I have here that tells me much of anything is that we've had a push up, back down, right? Another push up. And how many times have we seen this? Over and over and over again, right? I mean, it's this way all year long, right? You can just go on all the way through this. It doesn't matter where you start on this chart. It's the same thing. It's a sideways pattern. It's a range trade. Range trades drive you crazy, going up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what this one's doing and still doing, and probably will continue to do. If we look at the NASDAQ stretches slightly higher on the close. Now, yesterday we had a high of 5162.13. Today we go over that and we close underneath it. That is a reversal. I wouldn't say it's 2 bar because we're not totally extended, but I do expect this thing is going to trade flat to lower tomorrow off of this setup. If I look at the NDX doesn't get over it, has about the same volume. It's still trading up there, still messing with this high here, struggling with it. It did get over it yesterday. It was 45.51, and today stays over it. 45. It got over it and back under it yesterday, and also stayed under it today. So still struggling with that swing point high. If we look at the Russell stretches higher, and let's see, percentage-wise, Russell was up 1/4%. So stretches higher, continuation. This one shows no sign of slowing down yet. And so the Russell, if you're going to be long, the Russell is the place to be right now. And that Russell, if you look at it on a weekly, right, this thing broke out, unlike all these other indexes. This one broke out way back here on the weekly in the December time frame, and then got over it in the February time frame, and has stayed over it ever since. And so you kind of have a different market with the small caps than you do everywhere else. And that is that the small caps continue to show strength, right, on this longer term basis. Now, at this point, they are finally nearing their projections, and we're getting pretty close to, running out of that. We actually had one down here. I believe it was right there, which also was a projection, and that one's been completed. So Russell extending, continues to extend, and is doing the best when you consider all the indexes that are out there. Let's look at the The Dow, just for grins, the Dow is struggling with that swing point high, more or less like the NDX is. So not a lot happening there. Now, there are some folks that I saw just recently talking about a head and shoulders on the Dow. Again, I don't pay all that much attention to these anymore, and that's about as clean as they get with respect to the way it looks. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. I mean, that's like picture perfect if in fact this thing were to cave in. But to cave in means that you're going to have to get some of these divergences with stronger indexes giving it up. And right now, that just isn't happening. If we go over to the world markets, right, because the world markets, especially Europe, is where the things are happening. So if we pop over there, we pop into France first. France, and again, same scenario that we had last night with the S&P. We were wanting to know, are you going to get over this swing point high and stay over it? We got over it yesterday. We extended today. That pretty much tells me the range trade is back in effect. And if you take the next swing point low, you got over it as well today. So the CACs itself on the daily cleanly trading sideways now. So the range's bottom has been put in. And you can see the move off of that, right? You've had a 300-point move off that. You've had a 7% gain off those lows just 4 bars back. If we look at the DAX has done pretty much the same thing. And if we look at it, and let me see here, there we go. If we look at it, we've got the swing point low here, gets over it on this bar, stays over it today, actually gets over a swing point high as well yesterday, and it was going to the high of this swing point low, closed underneath it, so a little bit weaker, but still sideways trend, no longer downtrend. Those are good things, right? Those are the bullish kind of things you want to see if you want to be trading long. I didn't get a chance to flip through most of these others, so I'm just going to take a quick look at them. The All Ordinaries, bouncing back up, does the retest regen, gets over it, stays over it tomorrow, pretty much convinces me that one's back in a sideways range as well. India's been climbing higher last night. Looks like it's running out of gas here as it gets higher off this breakdown bar. I suspect it's going to get a little pullback tomorrow. Let's see what Brazil looks like. Brazil also was trying to rise, but not much there. That's not going very far. France we just looked at. Let's see what London looks like. Swing point low. That's just doing a bearish retest regen, so nothing there yet. Let me see DAX. Well, DAX we've already looked at. Let's look at Toronto. And let me get Toronto up here. And our friends to the north get a decent bounce. They're going to go back in, test their swing point low. So that's nothing special there, just a bounce. That's the 8 shares trading in Hong Kong, but we look at the Shanghai now mostly for that. Here's Hong Kong coming back up. Remember, I talked about a long time that a push back into this area would be the buy. That's what it did. It was the buy. Now the question is what does it do when it gets back up into here and this swing point low? It's coming into the swing point low now. If they rally it tonight one more time, that'll get over the swing point high and take out this swing point low. That gives you a pretty good push on the way back up, and then probably some retracing after that. But right now it's a big range trade, and it's trading back up to the top level on that range. If we look at the Shanghai, Shanghai got a big smack down and then reversed it. Shanghai going to try to trade higher. Let me see what else we got here. How about Taipei? Let's see what they're doing. They were wallowing at the low. They get a bounce. Okay, so they'll try to make it up to the swing point lows to retest. So overseas markets pretty much look good. If I look at the OX markets, the two main things there, of course, is the fact that the dollar jumped up so high today. Let's look at the euro first. So the euro comes off. Remember, it's up here trying to test the top of the range, gives it up, and that euro is still range bound. And if we look at the Japanese yen still range bound too. And that reminds me, I missed the Nikkei. If I look at the Nikkei, let me get that symbol up. This thing amazingly just busted higher. and that's without the yen going, down the toilet. So breaks two swing point highs, looks really strong. Not sure what to make of it other than the fact that it's a lot stronger than it looks. Bonds tried to trade off again today. They're getting down there, going to test the lows again. And the dollar, as we saw with the euro and the yen, the dollar was strong. Just comes off the bottom of the range. So range trading still. Sectors. Now, last night I was talking about the sectors being a little bit weaker, and they keep going back to the same sectors day after day. Biotech is one of them. Well, biotech gets up and over and back under 383.54 yesterday, closes just underneath it. This should try to pull back now. The home builders were trying to rise yesterday, and today they do the same thing. Doji's again. That probably is going to try to pull back as well. Transports can't get anything going. Still doing retest regens off the lows here. That is stuck at the bottoms and eventually is going to make another run lower. SOX has been weak, continues to be. And when I say weak, it had a nice bust out, but then it took it all away, and it hasn't been performing very well since. Still looks weak to me. If I look at the basic materials, they couldn't go anywhere today. Energy got a little bump up. If I look at the financials actually go over and under again. They're still struggling to get higher. If I look at the industrials, they're struggling. If I look at the XLK, the technology, it's struggling. It doesn't really matter where I look. They all look the same. They're all struggling. And so when I say to you the internals don't look too good, that's what I'm talking about. The weekly here on the XLB, you can see, even from the longer time frames, these all continue to struggle. It's really nothing clear internally that makes me think this market wants to go higher. And when I say that, what it means to me, here's the XLY, which is the strongest one, goes over, and I think it actually went back under. It actually closed right at it. What it means to me is that if you can't get broad participation and you have the same sectors take you up day after day, eventually this market has to come back in. The math just says that it will. You have to have broader participation. You can't have 10% of your stocks taking the market higher. It's just not going to work. I don't care what the weighting is, unless all the volume is in those stocks and the price appreciation. So overall, still looks okay, but it's going to pull back, and it's probably going to pull back tomorrow, and it's probably not going to pull back that far because of what's happening in Europe and Greece. And after that, I suspect it will try to push higher one more time. So right now, don't look for much tomorrow. Probably some softness, both in Europe and in the US. Probably get a little bit more push to the upside in Asia tonight. And then we'll see how it lines up tomorrow. But my guess is whatever pullback you get is not going to be much right now because of the Greek situation. And that thing is hurtling towards a resolution either before the week is out or certainly this weekend, which is going to make it very hard to sell this market. That's it for tonight. As always, I thank you for joining me. Tell a friend, tell two. I'm LA. This is and it was your daily NeoTA wrap. Have a great one. Good night.